Good evening. My name is Samantha Leonard, and tonight I will be giving a speech on why I'm advocating on behalf of marijuana being legalized. Marijuana is an illegal substance in most states within the United States, and it's actually classified as a Schedule I substance. According to the Drug Enforcement Agency, a Schedule I drug is a substance or chemicals that is defined as drugs with no currently medical use and a high potential for addiction and abuse. With this knowledge, however, I think that marijuana should be legalized for its medicinal purposes within our country, statewide across every state. Every day there are people suffering from things across this country such as depression, anxiety, cancer, AIDS, and chronic fatigue and pain. With the use of marijuana, you would be able to eliminate a lot of this unnecessary suffering within our country. At this point, it then comes down to an ethical dilemma because we have suffering within our country that we know we can help eliminate and fix. The first reason why I think that marijuana should be legalized is because the history of marijuana. The use of marijuana dates back all the way to 900 BC and was used for the help of chronic pain. It was specifically used in Ayurvedic medicinal practices. Various benefits of cannabis have also been translated from Sanskrit and Hindi literature under many different names as early as 1400 to 2000 BC. The Greek physicians, Galen, who was around from 131 to 201 AD, and Socrates from 40 to 90 AD described medical marijuana as indications for cannabis, which helped with headaches and migraines. And as early as most recent as 1915, the father of modern science and modern medicine, Sir William Osler, advocated for the use of cannabis to use in migraines, which was published in the Practice of Medicine. In most recent studies, as recent as 2005, 73% of all physicians agree that they approve that marijuana alleviates symptoms such as chronic fatigue, nausea, and pain commonly associated with AIDS, cancer, and glaucoma. Marijuana is proven to help aid those suffering with chronic headaches. More than 3/4 of physicians, which make up 76%, and the public at large, which consists of 82%, approve of state laws allowing the use of marijuana to alleviate chronic fatigue and pain. If marijuana was legalized across the country, then more studies would be able to be conducted to see what other benefits that marijuana has. Reason number 2 that I think is important to discuss is what happened to change the viewpoint on marijuana. So clearly we have a history of this use of marijuana. We have a history dating back to people using it to alleviate problems and pains, to fix the suffering within our world. So why did that change? Well, marijuana was used as political propaganda dating back in the United States beginning in 1930 by the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. The Bureau of Narcotics tried to associate marijuana with psychosis, mental deterioration, addiction, and violent crimes. There is speculation that false accusations were there to put a stop to the competing hemp industry from competing with other fabrics such as nylon. There's also speculations that marijuana was looked down upon because of the growing tobacco industry within the country. In 1937, the Marijuana Tax Act was enforced, and even though the American Medical Association opposed this bill and did not agree with it. Studies showed that by legalizing marijuana, it would reduce the risk of other illegal drugs and substances and also reduce crime rates. Research and scientific data shows opposing views to laws being enforced in the United States. Various studies being conducted by scientists prove that marijuana does have medicinal purposes and can help those who are suffering. The consequences of Schedule I classification of cannabis has been detrimental to its research benefits because right now, because it's a Schedule I drug, it is illegal for doctors to use this when conducting studies unless they have special permits and a lot of work required in order to do so. More evidence exists proving that marijuana is beneficial in helping people heal their pains than evidence that exists against the use of marijuana. Which brings me to the third reason why I think that marijuana should be legalized, is because it benefits from patients suffering from cancer. And at this point, this is where it becomes personal for me, because my father suffered and eventually passed away from cancer. I saw what chemotherapy and radiation can do to a human being. I saw how much suffering a person goes through when they are going through cancer. And at a time where it was very difficult to be able to obtain medicinal marijuana, my father was prescribed synthetic marijuana. So at that point, why would you prescribe someone a synthetic creation of something when there's already the actual marijuana that exists? It's a natural herb and plant. So because of the Schedule 1 classification of marijuana, there actually are very limited studies that do exist, but of the studies, there are two main studies that found that out of all the patients who received placebos and actual marijuana, they were able to, the patients who received the marijuana were able to heal and have an increased appetite. And they also not only had an increased appetite to be able to go through the chemo and radiation, they were also able to sustain more tolerance to pain, which is important during chemo and radiation. The fourth reason that I think is important to touch on is that with the legalization of marijuana, it reduces the rates of crime. So Washington and Oregon are two states within the United States that have the legalization, and since they legalized it back in 2014, there have been various studies that have showed that the crimes of rape, breaking into homes, and other crimes have been reduced.